I rolled into Maple Grove in my battered Nissan, drained from college and half glad to crash at my dad's place for a while. My father, Jack Harper, a retired county sheriff, had offered me a temporary refuge to sort out my next steps. Maple Grove seemed like any other suburban enclave: neat lawns, pastel houses, and a quiet that felt almost too perfect. But beneath the surface, something was off, and I was about to discover that this sleepy cul-de-sac was under the iron grip of Diane Morrow, a woman with a laminated clipboard and a hunger for control. It began with a note taped to my windshield, scribbled in blue ink on the back of a pharmacy receipt. No overnight street parking. Violators will be towed at owner's expense. Community Code 3.9. Compliance enforced. Signed, Officer D. Morrow, Regulatory Division. I showed it to Dad, expecting him to be pissed. Instead, he laughed, took a swig of his black coffee, and said, "Diane." As if that one word explained the madness. She's not on any HOA board. The HOA folded years ago. She's just making it up. He went back to cleaning his fishing rods, unfazed. The next morning, a piercing whistle cut through the air, followed by a shout about non-compliant trash bins. I peeked out to see Diane charging up our driveway, mirrored sunglasses flashing, a measuring tape clipped to her belt like she was SWAT. Her jacket, emblazoned with compliance officer in rhinestones, screamed authority she didn't have. Dad was in the garage, sorting through old Halloween decorations, when she started rattling off violations. Our mailbox was 2.1 inches too short, our lawn showed visible stress, and we hadn't filed a landscape aesthetic form. Dad just looked at her, nodded, and said, "That it?" Diane's jaw tightened. She wasn't used to being brushed off. "I'll return with a citation," she snapped. "And tell your son to move his car." That night, Dad parked on the curb. Deliberately. The next day, it all went to hell. Dad was out grabbing bagels, singing along to Tom Petty, when Diane's silver SUV roared up behind him, decked out with stick-on flashing lights and a fake Maple Grove patrol sticker. She'd gone full vigilante. Neighbors later said she jumped out with a megaphone, barking, "Exit the vehicle. This is a community safety operation." Dad, cool as ice, rolled down his window and asked if she was joking. She screamed about public endangerment and unauthorized window tint, then tried to pull him out of his truck. Dad's a mellow guy, but 25 years as sheriff made him allergic to being manhandled by someone whose idea of law came from true crime podcasts on Fast Forward. So, he let her zip tie him, curious to see how far she'd push it. "Thought I'd let her dig her own grave," he told me later, sprawled on the couch with an ice pack. It could have stayed a weird story if Deputy Lisa Carter hadn't shown up. She pulled up, stepped out of her cruiser, and took in the scene like she was sizing up a feral dog. Diane, unfazed, pointed at her and yelled, "Stand back, officer. Arrest this man for defying community regulations." Lisa glanced at Dad, still zip-tied on Mrs. Coleman's lawn with bagel crumbs on his shirt, and said, "Diane, what in God's name are you doing?" Diane launched into a tirade about Dad's parking, his disregard for the community code, and other nonsense, waving a pink ticket printed in Arial. Lisa cut the zip ties, helped Dad up, and said flatly, "Diane, this is Sheriff Jack Harper, retired. He outranks me, technically." Diane's face went from pale to crimson to near purple. "He parked illegally," she stammered. "There's a code." Lisa shut her down. "There's no HOA, Diane. You're not law enforcement. This is a felony." You'd think that would have stopped her, but Diane wasn't wired to back down. The neighborhood changed after that tense, like it was holding its breath. Porch lights synced up at night. Trash bins lined up like soldiers. People whispered behind fences. Then came the flyers, stuffed into mailboxes without stamps. Community Order Task Force Meeting Wednesday. Location disclosed upon RSVP. They had Diane's touch-gaudy fonts, too many exclamation points, and a cheesy clip art of a lion on a mailbox. Dad called it a khaki cult, tossing the flyer like junk mail, but I was hooked. I RSVP'd as Ethan Blake, with a throwaway email, and showed up at the community center's basement, guarded by two guys in matching polos labeled security. Inside, Diane stood in a navy blazer over a tactical vest, preaching about suburban decay and visual integrity enforcement. Her slideshow ranked paint colors by calmness quotient and called mismatched lawn chairs social decay. The real gut punch was a map of Maple Grove, dotted with red marks for non-compliers. Our house was the bullseye. Some among us invite disorder, she said, glaring at the dot. We will stop them. I told Dad everything. He just cranked the football game and said, let her play warlord. One wrong move, and we end it. But I wasn't waiting. Diane's GoPro footage from both incidents, Dad's zip tying and her fake traffic stop, landed in my hands via a neighbor who'd borrowed her camera. I spent 2 nights editing it into a brutal expose. Diane's rants, her fake badge, her yelling about lawn gnomes, set to ominous music with a slow-mo shot of her crazed glare. The final frame read, Suburbia's Tyrant. The opportunity hit at Diane's Community Unity Gala, a self-aggrandizing bash with catered meatballs and color-coded napkins. She wore a tiara, claiming it represented visionary leadership. Lisa and I slipped in, wearing borrowed tuxes, just as Diane took the stage to accept her own Order Champion award. I plugged the USB into the projector while Lisa distracted her with a fake question about hedge heights. The lights dimmed, and the video played. Diane's megaphone screeches, her neon cuffs, her shouting, I am the law, all on a 20-foot screen in crisp HD. The room gasped. Diane lunged for the projector, but Lisa blocked her. Let it run. Truth matters. The applause was shaky but real. People saw Diane for what she was, not just eccentric, but dangerous. But Diane didn't crack. She snatched the mic, called the video manipulated propaganda, and doubled down. Chaos lurks in this neighborhood, and I'll fight until every mailbox is perfect. She dropped the Mitchard and stormed out, her polo-clad minions trailing behind. The neighborhood erupted. Some swore Diane was framed. Others were stunned she'd cuffed a sheriff. Most were just lost, waiting for her next move. And it came. A letter taped to our door summoned Dad to a community standards committee for noncompliance and disruption. Signed, Chairwoman Diane Morrow. Dad didn't laugh. He dug out the real HOA charter and pored over it like a detective. If she wants a trial, he said, I'll give her one. By the actual rules. Diane turned the clubhouse into a mock courtroom, curtains drawn, a podium stacked on milk crates, and a jury of her loyalists. Dad strode in wearing his old sheriff's jacket, unshaken. I recorded everything. Lisa sat in the back, watching. Diane slammed a gavel on a salad plate and accused Dad of 8 violations, from improper vehicle aesthetics to fomenting unrest. Her proof? Photos of our trash bin ajar, a fallen gnome, and Dad grilling shirtless. Dad didn't budge. He read from the charter, proving the HOA dissolved years ago. Her rules were fiction, and her aesthetic clause was optional. He showed forged notices and neighbor statements about her threats. Then her husband, Paul, stood, voice trembling. She faked signatures, bought those polos online. I can't keep quiet anymore. He dropped a folder of evidence and sat. The room went still. Lisa rose, holding an official report. The footage shows impersonation, assault, coercion grounds for charges. One more stunt, Diane, and you're done. Diane gripped her gavel, frozen, then grabbed her clipboard and left without a word. The spell broke. Neighbors stayed, talking freely. The fear was gone. Maple Grove recovered. Bins lingered past pickup. Gnomes sprouted like weeds. Paul started carving birdhouses, eyeing a shop in town. Dad retired fully, swapping duty for fishing and loud Skinnerd. Lisa and I started dating, taking down a suburban despot does wonders for chemistry. Diane vanished. Word was she tried starting an HOA in a library book club, but no one confirmed it. Last sighting. Her walking her dog 2 towns over, muttering about lawn chaos. Maple Grove settled back into quiet, but we never forgot. Diane's reign showed how quickly peace can turn to lunacy, and how a woman with a badge from Etsy can hold a street hostage until a real sheriff reminds her what the law actually means.